they have been begging me to give easy questions for. So,
We are saying no to this.
no, this is one place where
I can say no to you guys.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Berryvengers podcast. This is episode 8 of what used to be an 8-part series, but we'll be extending it by a few more episodes because we realize that we have a lot more departments that we need to get through. And yeah, so for the listeners that actually enjoy this podcast, you're welcome. And for those that don't, I'm sorry. But nonetheless, as usual, make sure to check out our previous episodes. We've already done a podcast on game design, game art, game marketing, development, UI UX, and also a little different one last week. Not last week, the previous one, which was on interns. I almost feel like this is becoming the game that you play when you have to keep remembering whatever the person said last. So, anyways. I wonder how it'll be at the end. Anyways, today we have our very own product management team, and we have another episode with 3 guests. So let's try and get through this part quickly, the introduction. So first off, we have Sushmita Sahu, who's a product manager for PSLS, which by GC Star and Ludo Star. So
Hey everyone, I've been working at Gameberry Labs for past 1 year, and as Sohrab mentioned, it's for Ludo Star and Parcheesi Star mainly. Yeah.
Thanks, Sushmita. And secondly, we have Nitin Bansal, who's a product manager for one of our newer games called Backgammon Friends. Nitin.
Hello everyone. So as Sohrab mentioned, my name is Nitin, and I've also been working with Gameberry for about a year. Firstly, I was working with Parcheesi and Ludo team, and now I've switched to a new game, which is Backgammon.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. That's what.
And last but not least, we have Prathamesh Mahajan, who's also a product manager for our other new game called a Word League. So, Prathamesh.
Hey, Sohrab. Yeah. So I've been with Gameberry for almost 3 years now. So prior to this, I was working on another new game, which was in the merge category, and now I'm working on another new game, which is in the word category. So yeah.
Right. Yes, Prathamesh has always got to work on new games. It's fun. Anyways, so as is customary now, we always kind of get to know, first find out about what your role exactly is and what a product manager is responsible for. Because in other companies, you usually have what are called project managers. And whenever I mention this, like to other people that I know that I work with a product manager, they always try and correct me as if I'm wrong, saying that it must be a project manager that I'm working with. And I'm like, no, they're called product managers. And so in gaming companies, you usually have you have product managers, game producers, game designers. So these are all very different roles. So yeah, maybe you guys could shine a little light on what the differences are and what exactly you guys do.
Yeah, Saurabh. So product manager, basically, if you want to look at the product manager's role, you can say that someone who is responsible for failure or success of a particular product, right? Or it can be also a part of a product. You can assign, let's say, a monetization part, a revenue part, retention part for a particular product to a product manager, and then that guy will be responsible for that. Now, responsible doesn't mean that he's doing everything in that. He will be accountable if the product is successful, what goes into the product, what are the features that get implemented into the product, right? And how the targets get set. For example, quarterly targets, how they are. So basically setting all those KPIs, those kind of things. What are KPIs? Let's say for this quarter, you have to reach, let's say, 1 million revenue, right? By the end of this quarter, you have to reach 1 million daily monthly revenue. So that can be one sort of KPI. Or let's say you have, let's say in the initial durations of your product, you can have a target of acquiring set number of users. So those can be KPIs. Setting those KPIs now, coming up with a plan how we are going to achieve those KPIs in the least amount of time and least amount of effort. Those are the main responsibilities. Another thing that also comes in is that how making the features for each of those small parts that can be there, right? Building and testing hypothesis, running experiments. Those things come up with product manager. Now, another thing that you were mentioning was that, right, there are other roles also which are kind of confused with product management role. Let's say like game design role is there, project management is there, producer role is there. So
Yeah.
project manager and product manager, the main difference is that project manager will be responsible for getting something implemented. Let's say a guy will come to the project manager with a set of features, and then that person will be responsible of getting those features implemented, right? From the devs,
Okay.
getting the testing
Okay.
done, all those things,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
A synonymous role in game design game design industry is a producer role, right? Where the person is responsible for like handling the entire release pipeline,
Right.
right?
Right.
So those are like the producer and project management role, and then the game design role comes in, which is more towards the creative side of things. Let's say in a particular game, whatever fun element is there, the game designer is responsible for that part, right? So the core of the game, that is majorly handled by the game designers. Right. So that is kind of the main difference between what type of features a product manager works on and a game designer
Right.
works on.
Right. Right. Yeah. So yeah, usually in gaming companies you don't have project managers. They're just called game producers
Right. Yeah.
instead.
Yeah. Kind of. Yes.
Yeah. That's pretty much what you said. Right. So how is your team exactly structured? Because like as most listeners would already know, they've heard from previous podcasts as well that like we have a pretty free structure at Gameberry Labs, and there isn't like a very strong hierarchy and that works really well for us. So how would you say the product team is really structured? Is it just like associate product managers, then like your product manager, senior product manager, blah blah blah? Is it like that, or is there more to it?
So for an established game, for example, for Ludo Star or Parcheesi Star, the product team is it has two divisions which we call pods. So
Okay.
they are focused towards different aspects of the game. So one is core pod and another is live operations or live ops pod. So each of these teams will have APMs, PMs, and product analysts, and even game designers, and there will be some UX team members as well. So
Right.
it's like there will be different scrums for each of these pods, and they work on different aspects of the game.
Right. So, like Nitin, how would it be for a newer game? Because this would obviously be for a more
Yeah.
established game that's been running for a while.
So for a newer game, actually you can't have a specific structure that you need to follow for all the games that you're working on. It would depend on the kind of game you're working on, right? So if I give you an example for backgammon, we right now don't have such a structured team as of now, right? We have just one designer here working with one PM that I'm working on, right? And we have a few UX designers working with us, right? We don't feel a need to have analysts here because most of us do that work along with our normal
Right.
work also. But if you're working on a bigger project like something like Parth is working on Boardly, then probably you'll need to have more product managers because the scope of work that they're doing, they're essentially creating a new core loop within the game, right? Our core loop, as in how people play
Right.
backgammon, that remains the same, right? So essentially, you don't need that many game designers or product manager at the initial stage for that. So again, that depends on the kind of game that you're working
Yeah.
on.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I feel like even in backgammon, if we had more designers, it would just be a waste of time, honestly. Yeah. So
Right.
yeah, that's very true. And
Probably more team to coordinate with.
yeah. Exactly. And also, I just realized that you just called Parth, and that's a very, very common mistake people keep making in the company, especially when we had someone called Parth in the company before. So, anyways,
Now that is not
Yeah.
what you can do.
everyone knows who we're talking about.
Especially during the birthday.
Oh, right. Everyone instantly just types like at Parth,
Yeah.
and then they don't see it, then they're like, oh no, I made the mistake, I gotta back up. Right. So yeah, like Shramda, you mentioned about like the live ops and core pod and kind of what they do in short, but I wanted to kind of deep dive into that particular aspect. So like we've mentioned in the previous episodes also that there exists a core pod, there exists a live ops pod. I don't think we've talked about it too much. So from your perspectives, how do both of these actually add value, and what exactly do they work on, would you say?
So first let's look at the core pod. It focuses on the core features of the game, which is why your players are coming to your game. The core loop that Nitin mentioned, basically what the game is about. So let's take the example of Ludo Star or Parcheesi Star, where the user goes to the bet screen, selects the bet, goes to the game screen where he can see the dice, the board, and their opponents. So these are like part of the core features of the game, and there will be some extra features around it which support these core features. So that also comes under this. Coming to live ops is something that frequently changes in the game, and it comes into picture in a game when the game has some retained users who are coming back to the game. Then only it makes sense to introduce this. And I'll just give some examples again from Parcheesi or Ludo Star. If you see seasons, they keep changing every month. If you see events, if you see different cosmetic sales. So yeah, these are part of live ops.
Right. Yeah, all of what you just mentioned is like, so I work in the live ops part of Ludo Star and Parcheesi Star, so it's me and another designer who are mainly responsible for that. So if you have any hate, please don't direct it to me, direct it to the other designer. So I was also wondering, how is it, like I'm assuming you guys would have been PMs, or maybe you may not, but been PMs for a non-gaming company. So how is it being a product manager for a gaming company versus any other industry? Like, I assume you'd still be doing pretty much the same things, except you need to have a little bit more knowledge about games and play more games, analyze just games. But is that the case, or is it? Yeah, you tell me.
So what I believe is the core of what product manager does always remains the same, right? Like Parth mentioned, the key responsibilities are the same. You are responsible. You have the ownership of a specific product that you're working on, right? But there are certain differences which I felt in gaming industries, which sort of I wouldn't imagine being there in any other industry. So first of foremost of them would be like the passion that people have in gaming industry. I mean, the kind of people that you'll be working with, either the game designer or the artist, right? These people are actually very passionate about the work that they're doing. And this, although being very good for a PM that your team is very enthusiastic about the product, brings about a very unique challenge to gaming industry also, right? Because one of the key things that product manager has to do is stay true to the vision of the product, right? And that means you'll have to say no a number of times to these very passionate people. That becomes a unique challenge.
I've heard that a lot, even from you.
Right. Right. So that essentially becomes a challenge, as well as that's obviously a good thing for a team also, right? That is one thing. Second thing I believe the difference would come out from is the fact that if you're working in any other industry, let's say e-commerce as an example, the objective of the customer who's using your app or your website would be very clear, right? He would use it to buy something or sell something, right? While you're working on game, the actual objective of that person, actual motivation of that person for using a game wouldn't be exactly clear to you, unless you have an established game and that has been working for a lot of years, right? So that actually brings about a unique challenge as well as opportunity to learn, also an opportunity to use data creatively, right? How to actually find out the motivation that user is using for and better design that. So that sort of, I think, is a unique opportunity as well as challenge in the gaming industry. The third thing I would say is gaming is essentially an entertainment product, right? So like in all other entertainment products, it would have slightly lower hit rate. Not everything that you ship out would be successful. So managing that sort of expectation internal, both downwards as well as upward, that's a unique challenge within the gaming industry.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense, whatever you said. Like, I've experienced it from all the product managers that I worked with. And for any new game designer that's coming up, listen to your product managers, because like the reason they say no to a lot of stuff, I mean, there is always a big reason behind it, and it's good. Like the way that they think about things, it makes like the game designer also think about stuff in a completely different way than they would otherwise. Otherwise, it's just them just spewing out ideas for no reason, like without any thought process. So it's the product manager that kind of like keep the team in place and keep them focused on what's required. So yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, that's it.
And
Sorry, just one
yeah.
more point to what Nitin
Yeah.
was saying. That like he was mentioning the point where you have to like say no to a lot of ideas. So one of the main reasons, like one of the major problems that we face while developing any of sort of game is that like we don't know whether like we target a particular set of users, but
Right.
the team members themselves, they may not be like the ideal users of
Correct.
that product.
Correct.
So it always
Exactly.
becomes difficult how to like balance between the data, what the data is saying, and then like what the feedback that is coming internally from the team. So
Correct.
it's always a
Correct.
jostle there.
Exactly. It's the knowing your user part, which is probably one of the most important things when it comes to making a game. And I mean, like, I don't think any of us have still mastered that yet.
Yeah,
It's like almost impossible to
Yeah.
master it, because unless you are that user, it's so difficult. And usually you never work on a game that you're working on for
Yeah.
like that you are a user of. So yeah, that's always going to be a problem. So how do you usually get into a PM role? Because like what you guys just do a wide array of stuff. It's not just like if you do a business degree you can get into PM, or if you do an engineering degree you can become a PM. It's not exactly like that. So what exactly do you need to know? What exactly do you need to do to become a PM?
It's not that fixed also. You have to do like these set of things, so you will become you will get into a PM role. Like
Okay.
and one of the main reasons I feel it because it's also kind of a new role that the companies are starting to have in that company in their team.
Okay.
So they also don't know like this like these set of qualifications the candidates should have. But let's say for currently there are a couple of paths that you can take to becoming a PM. One main being like getting into a business school. So getting into MBA degree will open a lot of opportunities if you want to get into a PM role. But still, like it's not like just get into MBA college then you will get into a PM role. There will be like most of the companies will prefer to have at least 1 year of the candidate to have 1 year of prior experience. It not necessarily in the PM role, any role. So they want the person to have some exposure to like the industry, some industry at least, how the companies work and all those things. So because prior to that there is just the academic experience, so they want the candidate to have some exposure like that. Another ways to get into this role is like switching in internally inside a company. Let's say for in case of my trajectory, I was initially in a software development role. Then I've taken a break in between, worked on my like some kind of a project, my own project, so with a couple of friends. So after that, like I moved into like I came back and then I moved into a APM role. So that was my trajectory. So yeah, people who are passionate about like building products, doing stuff, so they can always like try that out, and they don't know like if it doesn't work, then maybe they can come back. Like the companies will be more than happy to accept them.
Right.
So
Yeah, I've seen like plenty of game designers also transitioning into becoming a PM, data analyst. So like you just need a little bit of understanding about like you need to be a good leader first of all, I feel, and just understanding a little bit of the data side, a little bit of the design side, stuff like that. Yeah, it's like a mix of everything.
If the skill set you're talking about, then it will kind of vary from industry to industry. Let's say in game design industry, having the passion and like if you are gamer or something, then it's always beneficial. If you have little technical knowledge about making games, then that is always a plus. But compared to other industry, let's say it's the logistic industry, then the completely different skill sets will be relevant there.
Right. Yeah.
And I strongly believe that qualities for being a product manager are more important than any qualification per se, right? Because
True.
ideally, if you meet many product managers, you won't see them following the same path. Take three of us, for example, right? The path for us is entirely different, right? I was working in automobile industry, then I switched to consulting, then to gaming, which is like a very odd path for being a product manager, right? So I believe the qualities for being a product manager, like the ownership that you need to have, having a strong product sense, that those sort of things are more important than any qualification.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah, that's what I've seen in my experience. So usually, how does your day-to-day go? Like, I mainly just see you guys in meetings like almost all day, and so is that pretty much all you guys do? Just like boss people around?
Yeah, we just attend meetings and then we take fat salary. That's all.
And we keep saying no to everyone. That's it. We go to the meeting, say no, and we come back.
And then, you make our life worse, and then we come back another time, and then it's a no again. And it's like, So are there any specific things that usually go in your day-to-day roles, or is it just kind of like how it flows? Like you just see how it goes, sort of thing.
I think it would depend again on what kind of game you are working on, established or a new game.
Okay.
So generally PM start with looking at the dashboards, all the metrics of your game, and checking if they are at par, if there are any sudden changes in them, and if we need to investigate why this has happened and all. So that is there. Then we have our scrum meetings where we discuss with the other team members like what's going on, what needs to be prioritized, and then we set our day, like start our day with, we have a task list, backlog that we call, then we prioritize, then we see what needs to be done. So every day is different. It will consist of some meetings with analysts, game designers, brainstorming sessions for new features, if any features that are currently being developed, if there are any blockers for developers, for our team, for any other team. So those meetings. So yeah, mostly around all these.
Right.
And playing a lot of games.
Right.
Yeah.
That is a given, yeah.
Of course.
The market research part.
Yeah. True. So is it very different from an established game, Nitin, Prathamesh?
It would be a bit different, because in an established game, essentially you can make a 3 months plan, right? And you can probably try to achieve that plan within the product team and with your producer, with the development team also, right? But in a new game, essentially, with every launch you get some data, right? You need to analyze that data, come up with new hypotheses, why it is working, why something is not working. And your 3 months plan can any day go on a toss, right? So that way, your plans are not very, rigid in a new game. That brings about the uncertainty in a new game, which makes the life slightly tougher, at least for me.
With every release, you get punched in the face. It's like that.
Yeah, I actually want to know how Word League is doing. I'll talk to you after this. I really like the game.
It's doing good. It will do good.
Okay. No, I wasn't insinuating that it's gonna do bad. Anyway, like Sharmila just mentioned that how it's very different working for a new game versus an established game. So again, I wanted to get a little more deeper into that. Like, we've all initially come from an environment where most of us have at least worked on a game where everything was like set in stone, all the metrics were there, all the data was there, and we knew kind of how the monetization structure was, how the retention structure was, what our numbers were required. And only recently did I also start working on a new game. Even Nitin the same. Prathamesh has always worked on newer games. So I mean, there's always something like this is something that even I'm looking to learn as well, where I basically design a game from ground up with no baseline present. So how has it like been working on a new game as compared to an existing game?
So, for a new game, so basically the targets or like the objectives are kind of different. In a established game, you set like we want to increase our revenue by this much percent in the coming
Okay.
quarter or something like that. So they will be very fixed, and you know that if you take these steps, then you will get close to that. It's kind of like that. Right. Let's say you have to increase your revenue by 20%, maybe you will increase it by 17%, or maybe even you can exceed it to 21%. But it will be somewhere around that mark. Right. Because like the core part is set, so you just have to work on the things which are surrounding that game. But in a
Okay.
new game, the thing is that in the initial stages, you are just testing out whether even there is a market for this concept or not.
Right. You basically don't know much at all.
Yeah, we don't know anything at all. We'll just
Yeah.
like check other games. We also don't have the data for the initial couple of releases. Like whatever data is there,
Right.
that is also very crude because the game itself is in a very raw form. So
Right.
the data may not be indicative of the true market or
Right.
this thing also. So we just have to see whether there is a market or not. And then the metrics that we are tracking there are like the retention metrics, the day one retention. How many people who install the game today are coming tomorrow, right?
Okay.
And there will
Okay.
be different benchmarkings that we will set. Let's say for casual games, you set a simple benchmark like D1 retention has to be 30%. So 100 people, if they install game today, they should, or they open the game today, they should come back. 30 of them should come back tomorrow. So this is like a simple metric which we try to target, and that this process may go on for like 2 months, 3 months, maybe even like 5-6 months.
Right.
And based on whether we are able to achieve that, we'll decide if there is a market for the game or not.
Right.
After that, the other things
Understood.
will come in, like what Sushita was mentioning, the live ops part of the game, monetization
Got it.
and all those things.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to get a little bit of an understanding of what happens behind the scenes for a newer game. And how do you, like you probably already said a little bit about it, but how do you decide which game to start working on? Like when it comes to a new game, is there like you mentioned, you just look at different markets and you try and figure out where there could be a hole where we could fit into. Is that basically how it goes? Like like for example, backgammon. How did we decide? Okay, backgammon is something that we can get into.
Right. So there are multiple factors that you need to consider while you are coming up what new product or project to work on, right? One of them is obviously where is the market opportunity? Where do you think there is enough target customers so that we can generate a profitable product or a good performing product, right? That's one thing. There are other things also that you need to consider, and those were actually important things for consideration for backgammon specifically. This was what are you good at as a company? What do you know to do good, right? So essentially, what we know as Gameberry is how to produce good board games, right? That is something that we have worked on and we have experience on. So translating that to a new product would be simpler for us. So that sort of gives you an edge. Like you understand this kind of products, so that probably it would be a path of slightly lower resistance.
Okay, got it.
Let's say, right? So that is another thing that you need to look at. And talking about the first point, the market opportunity, that also you need to look at from multiple angles, right? How many target customers are there? What is total addressable market, as to say, right? Then also you look at how strong the competitors are in that market. Can we come as a second product and disrupt that market? Right? And you'll also need to consider what is the profitability of those products, right? It should not be the case that we enter the market and user acquisition then becomes a very big issue. Like you'll have to invest a lot on marketing to acquire users, which would that won't make you revenue positive.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Right? So all these considerations go in by deciding a new game.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a lot of background research done before actually getting into a new game. There has to be.
Right. And we also need to I would also make a point that you can't be 100% about these things, right? You make a guess as per the best of your research and the analytics that you've done. But again, there is some gray area.
Exactly. Like it could be like even if you're creating a new feature for a game, it could be like the weirdest feature that you think will never work, that actually will do
Right.
wonders in the game, and you're like, what the hell? Like, why didn't I just release it earlier? Yeah, makes sense.
Exactly.
So yeah, that was pretty much the entire podcast, like at least the information section. So I know you guys are waiting for the quiz
Yeah.
questions, which they have been begging me to give easy questions for. So
We are saying no to this.
no, this is one place where I can say no to you guys. So yeah, you don't get your way here. Okay. So yeah, I mean, these are easy questions, like genuinely easy. I hope you guys have been paying to the random channel in Slack as well, because I took at least one question from there. So let's see. Cool. We'll get into it. So, question one. This is the question that I think Nitin will be able to answer.
Lot of
I have
pressure.
to go. I'll come back
Now
in
lot of pressure.
5 minutes. I'll
So,
come back in 5
I mean,
minutes. You guys
if
carry
you
on.
aren't able to answer this, it's like shame on you.
Oh my
And
God.
no, there's a reason why. Okay. How did the crypto game Axie Infinity recently lose $540 million? A. Bribing the CEO to declare losses to just run away with the money. B. A fake job offer provided by hackers with access to the company's secrets.
This is the answer.
C.
This is the answer. But
Did Nitin share this?
I know that person also.
What?
What?
I know that person also. It's my nephew.
Oh, nice one. The scammer of the company. Okay, I just want to say the other options because I spent some time thinking about nonsense to write. So C, the players all moved to another more interesting game which made them a lot more money. And D, the government seized the company due to tax fraud. Okay.
Did they move
So, yes.
to our games?
That would happen.
It could happen. Anyways, yeah, so you guys are right. It's B. So
At least 1 out of 5.
so good job. There's no shame on Nitin.
Yeah.
So yeah, he recently, I mean not recently, a little while ago, did a talk on the game Axie Infinity. So this happened recently. So I figured he would have read about it. And it's such an interesting story. I did. It's so weird the way this guys did it. Anyways, question 2. This is where it goes a little bit deeper into the gaming knowledge.
Okay.
So, Kingdom of Hyrule is the main setting for which classic video game franchise? The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario, Dark Souls, or Shadow of Mordor?
Can you repeat the question once?
Kingdom of Hyrule
Hyrule.
is the main setting for which classic video game franchise? Zelda, Super Mario, Dark Souls, or Shadow of Mordor?
Let's go with Shadow of
Just
Mordor.
played Super Mario, so
No, I know the
Nitin,
games.
Nitin, no guess?
Let's go with Shadow of Mordor. I don't know.
Whatever you
but
say.
Let's go with Shadow of
we
Mordor.
support you.
Whatever you say.
Shadow of Mordor,
Wait. Kingdom of Hyrule. The options were
Legend of Zelda, Super Mario, Dark Souls, and Shadow of Mordor.
Legend of Zelda or Shadow of Mordor. What do you guys feel?
Me, whatever you say.
They have no idea.
Kingdom of Hyrule.
Kingdom of Hyrule.
Don't look it up, Sushmita.
I'm not
You just-
looking it
you-
up.
You just
Come
bent
on.
forward like you were just going to start Googling.
Um,
Dude, is that the reason why you asked us to record on our mobile? So that we can't
Oh! I didn't think about that. No, that wasn't the reason. But yeah, it's a good tactic. So yeah, what are you guys going with?
Let's go with Shadow of Mordor then.
yeah.
Okay, Shadow of Mordor. So the reason I added Dark Souls and Shadow of Mordor to the answers was to confuse you guys.
Yeah.
The correct answer is Legend of Zelda.
At
So
least we were
50-50.
close.
Close, exactly. 50-50 and you got it wrong. Okay. Question 3. Which game? Again, this is actually from Slack random channel. I posted it recently. I hope you guys read it. I noticed that none of you reacted to it, which is why I'm asking this.
So I may have read it, I didn't react.
Okay, let's see. Which game has 25 million hours worth of games played by users, which is longer than the entire existence of humans?
I reacted to this later.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay, then I think you know it. A. Fortnite, B. Minecraft, C. Call of Duty,
Is it Minecraft?
or D. League of Legends?
Call of Duty. Yeah.
Okay.
Call of Duty.
Prathamesh is going on
No,
Minecraft?
Call of Duty.
I think I'll take Prathamesh's answer.
Hey, what?
No, I'm joking. It's correct, it's Call of Duty. That's like mind-blowing.
Oh my
More than the existence of humans. Okay. Question 4. You got 2 out of 3. Okay. Which was the best-selling game in the 1990s? Pokemon Red, Blue, Green, Super Mario 64, Quake, or Half-Life? By Pokemon Red, Blue, Green, I mean Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Green. Alright. So, yeah, Pokemon Red, Blue,
Was
Green.
there a Pokemon game in 90s?
Okay, at least I'll give you this clue. Yes, all the games I mentioned were released in the 1990s.
Can be Half-Life 2, but it's Counter-Strike's Half-Life, right? Sohrab?
Yeah,
But
it's like a
Half-Life
really old Half-Life.
wasn't that famous. 1.6 was. Can be Super Mario or Quake. I don't know.
You just mentioned every single option.
This was helpful.
She just went through every option and said,
I think Half-Life we can discard.
Yeah, let's discard Half-Life. Best selling you're saying, Sohrab, right?
best selling game in the 1990s. Pokemon Red, Blue,
Super
Green, Super
Mario.
Mario 64, Quake, Half-Life.
Do.
Then
Anything
it's
you
just
say.
going with the flow.
Yeah.
Super Mario Sushmita, right?
Yeah.
Pokemon would be like Pokemon Red, Blue, Green. That's a Nintendo game,
Yeah.
Nintendo exclusive, right? So,
Super Mario also.
Acha. And there is
I
Quake.
think he must have added red, blue, green, all three, thinking that we'll choose something with 3 parts, which will have highest sales,
What?
but it shouldn't be.
Trying to get under my head.
Yeah.
Huh? Okay. We'll see.
What do you think about Super Mario then?
Why would I have added Super Mario? Think.
Because it's the right answer, probably.
So is that what you're going with?
Prathamesh.
Super Mario?
Let's go with Super Mario.
Okay. I think Sushmita is a very bad reader of me. Because the correct answer is actually Pokemon Red, Blue, Green.
Okay.
Yeah? I mean...
Cool. No problem.
Alright. So you have how many? 2 out of 4, right?
Yeah.
Last question. This is a little more market related question again, because you guys are PMs, you should know your market.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm going to catch you out here. Which is the top mobile game of 2021 by consumer spend? Okay. So A. Pokemon Go, B. Coin Master, C. Genshin Impact, D. Roblox.
Roblox.
Nathan?
Customer spend worldwide, right?
Yeah. 2021. Yeah.
Last year. Was it not Monster Strike?
I mean, it's not in the options.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Roblox, but it doesn't consider China's revenue, right?
That's why I was saying should be Monster Strike. But okay.
Roblox? Okay. I mean, you guys were pretty quick to answer Roblox. And you're right. It is
Okay,
Roblox.
so but this question, where did you get the data for this question from?
I have no idea, dude. It's just some random website. And
Okay,
I just
okay.
typed mobile video game statistics on Google, like 2022 or 2021 something, and then I got this.
I think that it might be the top grosser in
Yeah,
US.
because those like
Okay.
Sensor
Worldwide.
Tower app and those people, they don't get collect data for China. No, like Genshin Impact did pretty well in China.
Okay. So would Genshin Impact have actually made a lot more money than Roblox if you were considering that also?
Genshin Impact was like a top, like it's in still, I think it's in a top 5 or 10, I think, right? But yeah, if you consider China's revenue also, maybe it was better. I don't know.
Okay.
But okay, then you can say ki Roblox's China revenue was also not considered, so maybe.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, Roblox. Well, it's been number one for so long. I don't know if it's still number one, but yeah, it's crazy. Anyways, yeah, that's the quiz. 3 out of 5, not bad. I think you guys thought you would do worse than this.
Yeah.
Much worse.
I tried to be a little bit lenient, except for the 2 actual gaming questions which you got wrong.
But we were pretty close. Pratmesh had the idea
Yeah.
about it.
With which one? Oh, this
Legend of
Legend of
Zelda.
Zelda one. True.
Even
Yeah.
Pokemon one. I was trying to
I mean-
read your mind, but that wasn't needed.
I mean, that's not knowledge. You're just trying to do like human
Yeah.
psychology and try and figure out what. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So we're nearing the end of the podcast. So again, we usually end these podcasts now with basically for any budding product manager out there, if you guys could give them like a few tips, tricks, whatever that they would need to know before entering the product manager role in the gaming field. So yeah, if any of you or multiple of you can say anything.
You have to like, play a lot of games, and yeah, not just play games, but also try to understand why a particular game may be working, not working. This is like apart from like all the analytics or whatever background that is like taken for granted. On top of it, you will also need this.
Right. Okay. There's nothing else. You guys are sad. You guys don't want anyone else to take your jobs.
No, I thought like others did.
I'm joking.
Again, I mean, there is no formula then, right?
True.
So it's very hard to define what do you actually need. But again, like Pratmesh said, you need to play a lot of games and actually think about them, not just play a lot of games. Analyze them, think about them, what the designer might be trying to do, right? Those sort of things would be obviously helpful. But in terms of hard scale, obviously you need to have a grasp of at least one of the team that you'll be working with. Have a very strong grasp. Like it can be analytics, it can be your technical skill, it can be something related to design. But if you're not strong in any one of those, then it becomes slightly tougher when you become a PM, right?
And I'm surprised neither of you said even like just leadership. Because leadership has to be there, right? Yeah.
It's
Not really necessary.
It's more of a servant leadership where you are not ordering others that you need to do this or this.
Okay, yeah.
So
Makes sense.
it's a
Trying to
different
get
kind
everyone
of
to work
leadership.
together.
Yeah, you work together with other teams.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
The thing is that
Actually-
like
Thanks, guys.
before coming here, like if you also say that you need to have like leadership, ownership skills, but it can't be that on the job. Mostly people will be able to learn those
You can
as
get
opposed to it.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
I
Alright,
would like to
thanks.
bust a myth that PMs don't say just no to everyone. Like we were joking about it in the whole podcast, but that's not what they do. And
Obviously. Otherwise, how would stuff get released?
no, I mean it's not about that they reject a lot of ideas. They just look at what value each idea is creating versus how much effort it would take for us to build. And based on that, those calls are taken. So yeah, just busting this myth.
This is just from a game designer's perspective. Do you sometimes feel that if a designer or whoever just suggests an idea that actually might work really well, but if you look at your statistics, it doesn't seem like it's that good, but actually releasing it might do well. Like that would happen a lot, right? And when do you kind of like draw that line?
So
Like, you
basically,
just don't
it's
know,
not
right?
like a black and white cookie. We have to release this or something. What we do a lot of times is that we experiment a lot of features before 100 releasing them to the 100% audience. So that is how like these kind of debates get
You'll
resolved.
figure out. Right.
And probably if we have an idea which we think like can work, and it's sort of a crazy idea which cannot be explained through numbers,
Exactly.
right? Then probably having a MVP sort of thing for it
Right.
and testing that
Right.
out would make more
Right.
sense
Right.
than going full
Okay.
flow.
Okay.
Then these sort of approaches are usually taken.
Makes sense. All right. Okay, I think we've exceeded our time as well. So, also for the past few podcasts, we've been doing this thing where we make one of the guests sign us off. So I've chosen Shushmita for this one because she's the shy one out of all of us. So, Shushmita, sign us off. You got to do the whole YouTube thing of like subscribe, share, comment, like all that nonsense.
Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you got all the content about what and how of PMs. So don't forget to subscribe, like, and click on the bell icon. Thank you. And please drop your comments on how did you like our content. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
brilliant. All
Yeah.
right. Yes, thanks Nathan, thanks Prathamesh, thanks Shushmita.
Thanks,
Thank
Saurabh.
you.
And
Thanks, Sohrab.
thank you all for listening. We'll see ya.
See you.